Okay, thank you, Akiva, for getting us a new mic, and now at least it sounds more clear. We are up to Amar Rav Yehuda. We're on Samach Gimel Amar Aleph, 5 lines from the top, the last word on the line. Amar Rav Yehuda, Sholach, which is one of the birds listed as those that are Osir. Sholach, as the pasuk says, Ves HaKois, Ves HaSholach, Ves HaYanshuv. So what is Sholach? Zeh HaShoila Dogim Min Hayam. Rashi says, Inu Havu Beki Bei. They those days in the Gemara, they are Bekiim. V'hu Oyev Hamayim. It's the vulture of the water. What it is it's a type of bird that from very up high, they could see, it has keen eyesight, they could see a fish, even though the fish might be swimming deep in the water, and it'll dive down and be able to grab that fish even from the depths. Duchifas, what is a duchifas? Shehoidu kofus. It is a beautiful crown, maybe made out of feathers, and they could fold it down. As Rashi says, shehoidu kofus karbalosoi ava. It has a nice thick crown. When it folds it down, it looks like he folded it into his head. It's a big oif like a tarnagoyl. I'm not sure if this is some type of peacock, but it's some type of turkey. The art scroll tied you to some type of wild turkey. But again, it's hard for me to know exactly what that is. Tanya Nami Hachi. We learned as well.
It's not a bourbon, right?
What does Rashi say? Puarin? No.
Wild turkey. It's a brandy.
Oh, wild turkey is a bourbon. No, that's right. Oops, I went over my head. Okay, Tanya Nami Hachi. Duchifa Shahaidu Kafus. Vizahu, and this is the famous bird, Shehevi Shamir Lebeis HaMikdash. Rashi says the name of that bird is a Nagar Tura. That's what the bird is called, because they touch the word Duchifas as a Nagar Tura. V'hu Tarnagoy Lebra. It's called the Tarnagoy Lebra. Uvegitten beperk Misha Achsoi. The Gemara tells us the story of how Shlomo Melech got the Shamir, Mefarish Ma Overlay, the Manger Beit Teraya. The bird used to use the Shamir to split the rocks where it would lay its eggs in a safe place. And there's a story in the Gemara how Shlomo Melech was able to track it down. Rabbi Yochanan, ki havi chazi sholach. When you would see a bird called the sholach bird, again, this is I call it the dive bomber. Omar used to say, Mishpatecha toim rabba. So we say this by mincha, tzitkasecha kahare kel, Mishpatecha toim rabba. So he would say Mishpatecha toim rabba in reference to the sholach. As Rashi explains, she zimanta sholach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepared the sholach, lishboit v'lasos nikmoscha b'degas hayom, to take nekama, to punish a fish if a fish requires punishment. Lahamis hamizumazim lamas. Those fish that are supposed to die, the sholach is a dive bomber that will be able to kill those birds, those fish. Rabba can have a chazi namala. When Rabba would see an ant and be inspired by it, Amar titkascha kahare kale. Rashi has two pshatim in what that meant. First, Rashi says that filu namala, even a small little ant, you think Hashem is not mashkiach on such a tiny little insect. Ista chayusa k'gedola. Hashem takes care of it, just like Hashem takes care of a big animal. Loshen Mari. The first Loshen was Loshen Mari Lishna Achrina, but another pshat Zok Rashi is Linamala who Omer Titkascha Karakel Shemizayne Sam Muzumanim La Beloy Torach. That a ant seems to have its panosok to come to it quite easily. B'misha ata nishbat Ata donu, ata haim rabba, and mishpatecha taim rabba means someone who you want to punish, like the bird that might be deep in the water, kagoin sholach shetereach levake shomer hanoisav. On the other hand, the ant might have it very easy, but the sholach has to dive to the depths to get its daily bread sometimes. So it's just contrasting the hashgacha of Hashem on each nivra to have what it needs. Some have it easier and some have it harder. Amar Meimar, Likni ubitni sharyon, the two birds that are called Likni and Bitni, they're mutter, and Shaknoi uvatnoi, it depends. Mokum shenahagu lachol oichlin, mokum shenahagu shloi lachol ein oichlin. Fragt the Gemara, how could you say this is dependent upon a minig? Atu bimin haga talya milza. Is this talya na minig? Zog to Gemara, it is veloy kasha, but it's not shver. Ha ba'asher the shchichi paris vaznia. If it's in a place where there's a lot of paris vaznia, then it's possible that these birds are a variation, a species of paris vaznia, and therefore it's aser. Ha ba'asher the lo shchichi paris vaznia. But the place where it was a minig to eat them is a place where they didn't have paris vaznios, therefore we're not choshit for these variations. Frek Toisus, it doesn't make any sense. If we're choishish that this is a species of paris vaznia, what's the difference where we are? If this might be a paris vaznia that the Torah outlaws, so it doesn't make a difference what city you're in. This bird is a problem everywhere. Zok Toisus, in Emerson, it for sure was not a type of paris vaznia. That's not a shayla. But this looked similar to the paris vaznia. We would be afraid if there's paris and oznias around, if we're matter this bird, people might mistakenly also eat the paris vaznia. But in cities where there was no paris vaznia around, there we didn't have to be geyser. Amar Abaye, kui v'kikui asiri. These two types of birds are osir to eat. Kaku asa, but the kaku asa is shari. Rashi gives some translation to these, but I don't know what Rashi is. I don't know those English words what they are either. The B'Marava Molki Iluya. In Marava in Yisrael, they held that if you ate a kaku asa, you ate. It's not even a suffix. It's avada deraisa. V'karlo tachvasa, and they would call it a tachvasa. Tanu Rabbanan tinshames. Right. So another type of bird is. It says vesatinshames vesaka ves haracham. Now, I just want to contrast that there's a bird that's called tinshames, and there's a sheretz that's called tinshames. Not to be confused with one another. So, tinshames, Tanurban tinshames, ba'os shaba'ifais. What are ba'os shaba'ifais? That's also a little matter of a discussion. Rashi says, talfa, it's a talfa, I'm not sure if he means maybe an owl, because boys could mean it hoots. So it could be means owl, but it means something completely different. Right, the article says owl or a bat. Ata oimer, boys, because it says that there's a shrotzim. The sheriff's called in Shamas. Amrit tzei ulamad miyud gimel midoy shator nedreshes behen. It says davar alamid minyonoi, something that you know what it is based on its context. Mameh karsef bedaber. When the Torah says tin shemes, what are all the other animals around it that we're discussing? Ba'ifais. So therefore, when it says tin shemes, afkan ba'ifais, it must be a bird that's called a tin shemes. Tanya nami gabi shrotzim, the same idea. Kagavna. It says tinshames over there. There's to the comments. Is boy shabishrotzim. So it's some type of sheretz that makes a noise. Maybe it's a bird over there. Again, it's mentioned amongst shrotzim. Amr tzeilamad yud gimel mido shatar nejesh ben davar lamed binyan b'makos v'daber b'shrotzim afkan b'shrotzim. Amr Abaye zokt Abaye boys shabaifos. It's called a kipuf. And Boisho Chotim is called Akur Padoi. Again, I don't know what these things are. The Art Scroll suggests some things, but I don't know what most of them are. But does the Art Scroll say anything about Kipuf and Karpai? I think he says something, but I don't know. I don't know what they are anyway.
A mole.
A mole. Do you know what a mole is? I don't even know what it is.
No. Yeah, I know.
It's a type of bird, I guess.
On the body, I know what it is.
Amr Rabbi Yehuda, Kas Zu Hakuk. So is that like the cuckoo bird? I'm not sure. I think they live inside clocks. Racham Zu Shirakrak. That's a bird that's called a shirakrak. Amr Rabbi Yochanan Lama Nikra Shmoy Racham. Why does the Torah refer to it? We use the word Racham Miloshin Rachmonos. Zok to Gemara. Kiven Shabar Racham. When this bird comes, Bo Rachamim La'olam. It causes rain. The Art Scroll explained that based on its migration patterns, when it crosses over Eretz Yisrael on its way to migrate to Africa, that's a time that's at the beginning of the season of the rain. Amr Bibi Bar Abaye, V'hu de Yosef Amidi. That's only if it's sitting on something, if it's perched on something, that's a sign that it's going to rain. V'ovid Shirakrak, and it makes its call. Ugemiri, and we also learned the Yosef Aya Visharik, but if it's not perched on something, rather it's just on the ground and shrieking. I just had shark is shrieking. Also Mashiach, that's a sign that Mashiach's coming. That's heralding the coming of Mashiach. Listen, nowadays there's a whole bunch of bird brain shrieking all over the place. Every corner there's another bird brain shrieking, so you never know. Shenemar Ashreika Lahem Va'akapsein. Let me just read the word properly. Rashi says, Eshra Kolahem Vakaptim Kitadisim V'Ravu Ravu. What's that? Okay. Amar Le'Rav Ada Bar Simi Lamar Bar Av Idoi V'Hahu the Yosef Kikarba. We know there's a story that there was a bird that was sitting on the ground. Bekarba, I think Rashi says, is in on Harisha, I guess, in a plowed field. V'Sharak, and he scramped, and you know what? Mashiach didn't come, but you know it did come? Vasa Golol, a big rock came out of nowhere. V'Afsakalamoichin smashed the skull of the bird. Not much of a geula. The article brings down from, it could be the Maral and Amashah, that there was a hailstorm and it got hit in the head by hail.
This bird, I don't know what it is. 2:30 in the morning. This is one bird. You know?
Well, I have a woodpecker. I have a woodpecker by me.
Chirping away. 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Do you ever open your window and say, "Do you know what time it is?"
Just let a rock fall and shut it up.
Amalei, you know what happened to me this morning? My alarm started chirping again. So at like 5 o'clock in the morning, the alarm company calls me. There's something wrong. I said, "Yeah, you just woke me up." Amalei, hahu baida hava. That was a baida. Rashi says, "Bada," it lied. It knew that when Mashiach comes, it's supposed to announce it. It was a false alarm. So therefore, since it lied, therefore it was punished and it was killed. So I didn't know that birds could on their own decide that they want to announce Mashiach, and then if they lie about it, they get killed. You know, there's a famous story. there's a famous story where every time Reb Nosson Vaxel, he always had his luggage packed for Mashiach. And every time he would hear a shofar blowing, he would come running out with his suitcase, assuming that he was Mashiach was coming. And before Hashanah, where a lot of Balei Tekei were practicing, he used to have a lot of false alarms. I wonder if someone died every time there was a false alarm, because it says that when the bird makes a false alarm, it dies. Taner Abadan, Oyrev, Ze Oyrev. The Oyrev, what is it? It's the Oyrev. Es Kol Oyrev, because it says Eskol Oyrev Elimineu. So Eskol Oyrev, what's Eskol being Marbe? Lavi Oyrev Ha'amoki, to add the Oyrev Ha'amoki, the deep Oyrev, and the Gemara will explain what that means soon. Leminoi, Lahavi Oyrev Haba Barashe Yoinim. A Oyrev that comes with the heads of of doves. We'll see what that means as well. Amar Mar, Oyrev ze Oyrev. It doesn't make any sense. Atu kaman koi. If this Tana was holding an Oyrev in his hand and said, this here is the Oyrev, the other psukim are marba other Oyrevim. That would make sense. But if I don't have an Oyrev with me, what do you mean Oyrev's Oyrev? There's so many species of Oyrev. How do I know which Oyrev he's referring to when he said Oyrev's Oyrev? Ella, Ema Oyrev, Ze Oyrev Uchma. Oyrev is a standard all black raven. Because ravens are normally all black. V'cheinu Omer, Kivutzoisav, Taltalim Shechayrois, his locks are beautiful black locks. Now, Karev HaMoki, it means Chiyuva, it's white. And you find by Nagoyim, V'hine Marei Omoik Mina'ar, white on a dark background, the white looks like it's recessed. V'cheinu Omer Umarei Omoik Mina'ar, Kamar Chama Ha'amuka Minatzel. What about V'arev Haba B'Rosh HaYonim? Amar Papa Loi Tema Da Asi B'Rosh HaYonim. We're not speaking about a bird that looks like an Orev, that hangs out with pigeons, because that in fact is a kosher bird. Ela the Domi Reisha L'Diyonya. He's talking about a raven whose head looked like the head of a Yaina. Again, I don't know what exactly these birds are, but there's species like that. Tana Rabbanan. Hanetz. Zeh hanetz. That's referring to the nets. Lemineu lahavi es bar chira. Now here Rashi says, how come the Gemara didn't ask the same question? Is he holding a net in his hand? There wasn't a problem, because by the Orev we know there's many different birds that are called Orev this, Orev that, but there was only one bird that everyone referred to as a netz. The lahavi is actually being marred, but not a netz bar chiraya. It's a completely different bird called a bar chiraya, so therefore it makes sense. Lemineu lahavi es bar chiraya. That's marba the bar chiraya. Rashi calls it a sharinka. It's called a sharinka. Again, I don't know what these birds are. My bar chiraya, Rabaya sharinka. Rabbi Yehuda hachasida. There's a bird called a chasida. Zu daya. That's the bird that's referenced as the daya. Zu daya levana. That's the white daya. Lama nikra shema chasida. Why does the Torah call her chasida? Because it shares its food with its friends. It's very generous. So you would ask yourself, Zakta Chedush Harim, that should be then a kosher bird. It's kind to others. The Torah says no. It believes in Newton's theory of relativity. If you're related, I'll help you. You're not related? Go fly a kite. So that's why it's not a siman toiv would be if she shares with others. It helps everybody. But the fact that she only is good to her own and not to others, that's why she's not a kosher bird. Ha'anafa zu daya raksanis. This is literally an angry bird. It's called an angry bird. Lama nukashma anafa shemina efes and chaverisel. She gets angry, she loses her temper with her friends. Literally, an angry bird is not a kosher bird. Rav Chanan, all these things that we see in secular movies all come from the Gemara. This is literally an angry bird. Right? Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda. Rav Chanan, the son of Rav Chisda, said, in the name of his father, Rav Chisda, Rav Chanan bar Rava. So this sounds like a lot of incest going on over here. So Rashi explains, Rashi doesn't explain, the ArtScroll explains, that Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda was also the grandson Amar Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav. So Rav Chanan was saying something over in the name of his ground, in the name of Rav Chanan. So Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav Chanan. Rav Chanan, the son of Rav Chisda, was saying something over in the name of his grandfather Rav Chanan. But Rav Chanan was not the father of Rav Chisda. Rav Chanan was the father-in-law of Rav Chisda. So Rav Chanan was saying something over in the name of his maternal grandfather, who was Rav Chanan bar Rava. Amar Rav, Esrim v'arba oifos tamein. There's only 24 birds that are tamei, the rest are tahar. Amar Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda Rav Chisda dehecha. Which are the 24 birds you're talking about? Because this parsha is mentioned Sai in Parsha Shmini, And Sai in Parshas, I believe, Re'eh, Ekav or Re'eh, the Torah discusses the kosher animals. I think it's in Re'eh. Ida Vayikra, Eshemava. If you count all the birds listed in Vayikra, there's only 20 listed there, not 24. And Ida Mishnah Torah, and if you look at the one in Re'eh, Eshem V'charav, there's only 21. So you still have a deficit of 3. V'chitema do d'ksiva b'Vayikra, v'lo ksiva b'Mishnah Torah. If you're going to tell me that the list in Mishnah Torah is not the same list as in Vayikra, and therefore there's one extra in between the two of them, so therefore Shad Yalai, you add that to the bunch, well, you're still Akati Esrin, Akasri, one second, Esrin V'charav, you still have only 21, you only found one extra. V'chitema do d'ksiva b'Vayikra, v'lo ksiva b'Mishnah Torah, Shad Yalayu, Akati Esrim V'treinavu. So it says Ra in one place, it says Da in another place. If you're going to say that these are two different birds, so then you found me 2 extra birds, you're at 22, but you're still not at 24.
20 in one and 21 or 22 in the others. And it's just showing that just not all of them are listed.
But the problem is Reb Chanan Bar Chisda said that the Torah lists 24, and that's accurate. So if he would say, yeah, there's more, it's an example of Mamela, but he didn't say it. He said it's accurate. Amar lei, hachi amar avua the imach mishmeiderav. This is what your mother's father. So you're saying over from the Zayder Reb Chanan. Let me tell you over what the Zayder Reb Chanan said in the name of Rav. It says in the pasuk lamina laminoi. Some of these are in Devarim and some of these are in Shemini. It adds, so we have 3 more, lamina, we have 4 extra words. It adds 4. Problem is, now we're at 26. Ihachi, Esher v'shisavu. Amr Abaye, Da and Ra, Da that's mentioned in Shemini, and Ra that's mentioned in Re'eh are really the same bird, Achasi. And I have a proof for that. If they're 2 different birds, one listed in Re'eh and one listed in Shemini, Michti. Let's think about this for a second. Mishnah Torah la sufehu. The whole purpose of Mishnah Torah is to chazir something over, to add, but it wouldn't be missing anything that's supposed to be there. Mishnah Torah should have had both. It's supposed to be complete and conclusive. It must be that it's just the same. Now we're going to have to say, if it's just the same, why did the Torah calls it a different name? So we'll get to that. But so now you just found one that you could eliminate, so you're down from 26 to 25. But we still have another one to eliminate. Amar Abaye Kashem Shira V'do Achasi Kach Aya V'daya Achasi. The Aya and the Daya is also the same bird. Because if you're going to hold that there's 2, Michti, let's think about this. Mishnah Torah La Sufehu also. Mishnah Hachad Dechsiv Lamina Aya U'Mishnah Hachad Dechsiv Lamina Adaya. So let's have a look at the psukim, because here I believe it mentions in both. It says in Vayikra V'Esada V'Esa'aya Lamina. It mentions Aya, but it doesn't mention Daya. But here it says V'Ra V'Esa'aya V'Hadaya Lamina. Here it says both, but it only says Lamina by the Daya, but by Shemini it said Lamina by the Aya. So the question is, why does the Torah say Lamina by the Aya here and by the Daya over there? Zok Gemara, Ela Shemamina must be that Aya V'Daya is Achasi. Must be the same bird. Fact the Gemara v'chimi acher she'aya v'daya achasi. So lama le'ya michtav aya v'daya. So why did it say both? If they're really the same bird with 2 names. Keditanya Rabbi Omer ekra ani aya. If it says aya daya lama nemra. The teretz is kedei shaloi titein pischein peh labal din lachloik. What if somebody calls it a daya? The fact that 2 birds have the same name, someone might say, hey, the Torah didn't say daya, the Torah said aya, so I'm eating the daya. Shaloi tehei ata kairi aya v'hu kairi daya, or ata kairi daya v'hu kairi aya, and then you're going to wrongfully eat a bird that you're not allowed to eat. L'chach chosev b'mishnah Torah v'hara v'sa'aya v'hadaya lemina, to teach us that all these might be the same, but even though they're the same, no matter what you want to call it, the Torah tells you that it's also. So based on what we learned now, Ra and Da is the same, and Aya and Daya are the same. So between these four birds, it's really only two birds. Meisei Fake the Gemara, I'm going to show you that all four birds could only be one bird. Because it says, Lama Nishnu Bibehema. Why? I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Meisei Lama Nishnu Bibehema, you're telling me that when it says it again, it's only because someone might call it differently. The problem is, the Gemara asks, Lama Nishnu Bibehema. Not only did the Torah chazer over in Parshas Re'eh the halacha of which birds you're allowed to eat, the Torah also reviews the parsha of which animals you're allowed to eat. Why did it say it over? What new did I learn in the parsha of Re'eh? Because in Re'eh, that's where it mentions the new thing called Shesua. I'm sorry? So Rashi says, so let's have a look at Rashi. It's a good point. So Zokt Rashi, Michte Mishatar Lasufagasi, Kedamrin Lakamon, Lama Nishtu Bebehema Pnei Shesua. Yeah, so it's not, even though it's called Mishatar, but the Torah chazed it over to give us extra clarity. So the assumption is that we do learn something from Mishatar. So Zokt to Gemara, Lama Nishtu Bebehema Pnei Shesua. Uva oifais mipnei hara. So, frank the Gemara, my love, mid behema the hasam lesufe, just like by behema, the reason why the Torah chazed it over was to add a new species that the halal wasn't mentioned in Shmini. Maybe oifais nami lesufe. The extra word is also there to add, not to clarify the same bird with a different name, but it's also to add another bird. Dr. Gemara Lav Dafka, Hasam Lesufe. The reason why the Torah chazed over the Parsha Behema was to tell us about the Shesua, and Hacha Lefrushe. And over here, by birds, the Torah is being mefarish. Not, it's a chiddush. It doesn't have to mean to add, it could be a chiddush to clarify. Upligi de Rabavo. This all argues on Rabavo, because we're going to see Rabavo held that the Ayah, the Daya, the Ra, the Da, all four birds was only one. So that means he's going to be missing one bird. He's going to be from 24 down to 23, which means he's going to have to argue on this whole Yosy that there's exactly 24 birds. Ra zu Aya. The Ra is the Aya. Ra, Shiraya b'Yosy. That's a very good vision. Nisiv lo yadu ayat. It's something that the ayat could not see. Veloishizavatai ayin ayah, and even the ayin of an ayah won't pick it up. Tana we learned, this bird could be in Bavel, v'raya nevela be'eretz Yisrael, and it has such keen eyesight it could even see a nevela in Eretz Yisrael. Midura, hainu ayah. If Rabbi Vo is saying that the Ra and the ayah are the same bird, Mechlal the Da, Lav Ra. It must be that the Da is not the Ra, because otherwise you're losing from 24. So maybe he's matching up Ra and Ayah, and Da and Daya. Zok to Gemara, Michti. Mishta Torah la Sufi da Asa. Maish Nahacha de Chsiv Da, Umaish Nahasam de Loi Chsiv Da. El Lav Shema Mina, da Da, Vera, V'Ayah Achasi. It must be that all three of them are the same, and therefore we're not missing anything. Why?
Not that it doesn't make sense. It's more conceivable that it's off by one letter, like dot and raw, ayah. You know what I mean? But ayah is.
It's hard to know how people call birds.
Yeah,
Right? Like tomato makes sense, but tomato and pickle doesn't make sense. So come on, with the raw hainu ayah mechlal the daya lav hainu ayah. But Daya is a separate bird. If that's the case, why by Shemini did it say Limineu by Aya? Like Siv Limineu Aya Ela Adaya. Ela Shemamina again, Da Vera Daya Va'aya Achasi. They're all one, meaning we only have 23 birds in total. We learned, Iti ben Yuda Omer, Meya Oifais Temein Yesh b'Mizrach. There's 100 Oifais that are Tamei in the Mizrach v'chulon min Aya. They're all min Aya, meaning it doesn't add to the 24. Even though there's so many b'Mizrach, they all are species of the Aya. Tani Avimai Barei de Rabavo. Zayin Meyois Mine Dogim Hein. There's 700 types of non-kosher fish. V'ches Meyois Mine Chagavim. And there's 800 types of Chagavim. Ula Oifais Ein Mispar. And there's unlimited amount of Oifais. Frank the Gemara, how could you say there's an unlimited amount of Oifais? That are Tmeis, Oifais Chof Dalet Havu. Didn't we just say that there's only 24 Oifais that are Tamei? Ella Ula Oifais Tahorim Ein Mispar. All it means is the Oifais Tahorim don't have a number. Meaning once you could identify the 24 birds, if you have clarity to be able to determine which are the 24 birds that are Osir and their subsidiaries, then you can assume any other bird that you find, no matter what, is kosher. So that's why we need to know how many are psulas, because if you're actually able to identify them, then you have the luxury of knowing that you could eat anything else. That's right. Panya Rabbi Omer, Goliv Yidul of the Mishamar Baya Olam, Shebehema Tameya Meruba Minatayers. We know there are many more Behemas Tameyas than there are Behemas Tahayras. Lefichach Mana Akasav B'Tayra. That's why the Torah gave us the Simani Tayra, simply because it's easier. It's easier to talk about the smaller quantity. Goliv Yidul of the Mishamar Baya Olam, She'oivais Tahayr and Meruba Latamein, Lefichach Mana Akasav B'Tamein. That's why the Torah talked about the Tamein. My kamash below what's the chiddush? Kid Rafuna Amarav, V'Amri La Amarafuna Amarav Mishmar Meir, and that is LaOlam Yishan Adam LaTalmidoi Derech Katsara. Always find the simplest way to convey information. So if the long list is of Tameos, then just give the list of Tayros. And if the long list is Tahiros, give the list of Tameos. Amar Bitzchak, Oif Tahar Nechal B'Mesayros. This is a very big controversy. And Oif Tahar, you're allowed to eat it if there's a Messiah. Zok Rashi, what does that mean? If you could remember a Gadol who ate it, or if your Rebbe or your butcher told you that this is a kosher bird, you're allowed to eat it based on knowing that this is the tradition. So too, if you go to a trapper who's familiar with birds and he says, I know this is a bird that's tar, how do I know it's tar? Because Masar Li Rebbe, my Rebbe told me that it's tar. So even though the side isn't the Rav, but he's Neman to tell you that the Rav told him that this type of bird is tar. Because Erecha Neman Bisur. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, that's only V'hu Shabaki Bahen Uvishmaiseyet. The only way a tzayid could be Neman is if the tzayid knows exactly what type of bird it is and knows how to identify it. Because if he can't identify the bird with clarity, then what good is his testimony? So, Boy Abzeir, Rabbi Chacham or Rabbi Tzayid. We said the Tzayid has to say that my Rebbe told me that this is good. So what do you mean by his Rebbe? Does that mean who mentored him in trapping birds, or his Rav? What does it mean when the trapper is saying it over in the name of his Rebbe? Tashma, Dom Rabbi Yochanan, we just had from Rabbi Yochanan, V'ushabaki Behedu V'shmaiseyan. The rabbi wouldn't know how to identify birds. He might know their names, but he doesn't know how to recognize birds. So, Iyamad B'Shlama Rabbi Tzayid and Shaper, Eliyamad Rabbi Chacham, B'Shlama Shemayu Gamalu. The rabbi might know all the names of the birds. Eliyinu Mi Adalu, he's not a bird specialist. So, therefore the Kabbalah is, even if you have a trapper who has a Kabbalah from his teacher who taught him trapping, of course we're talking about Erlich mentioned, you could trust him that it's kosher. Elav Shmamina, Rabbi Tzayid Shmamina. Now there's a very big machloikis Rishonim. There's such a thing as having a Messiah that a bird is kosher, right? And it's even brought down that if let's say in one city, and it's a big machloikis in the Shulchan Aruch, let's say in one city the minig is to eat this type of bird, but not in the other city. So there are those who hold that you're allowed to meet him everywhere, because there's no such thing as a Masur that it's treif. The whole part is you need to have a Masur that is kosher. So in a city where they didn't eat this type of bird, it's not going to have a Masur that was treif. It's because they don't have a Masur on this bird that's kosher. So they're not contradicting the Masur of the city where it's kosher, they just don't have that Masur. But then there are shittas who hold that it's going to be treif. So then there's a whole question, is maybe that's only if there's a Masur that it's treif. So there's a big machlokes rishonim about this parsha. Tanu Rabbanan, loichem beitzim min ha'oiv tekachavim, b'chol makom, you're allowed to buy an egg from a goy, maybe it's a nevela, maybe it's a treifa. Ve'ichloshin loy mishum nevela shelo mishum treifas. Freit Gemara, okay, maybe you're not choshen that it's a nevela or a treifa, but how do you know that the egg came from a kosher bird? V'dil medoiv tamininu. Amar Avu de Shmuel, it's speaking ba'omer shel oif ploini tahar. It's when the vendor tells you this is a chicken egg and a chicken is tar. Freit Gemara, why did he have to tell me that it's a chicken egg and that is tar? Why don't I believe him if he just said it's from a kosher bird? If he tells you it's from a chicken and it's tar, then you can compare it to a chicken egg. If it looks differently, then you caught him red-handed. But if he tells you just from a kosher bird, and you say, well, I compared it to a chicken, it's not like a chicken, he says, never said a chicken, it's a kosher bird, it's from a different bird. So you have to make him identify it to the point that if he's contradicted, he'll be caught red-handed. There's actually simanim on an egg where you can tell if it's from a kosher egg or not. Not everybody knows this, but look what the Gemara says. The same siman that we know to identify a kosher fish, that's how you can identify a kosher egg. I've never seen an egg with fins and scales. Fish also hatch out of eggs. So the same way to identify whether a fish egg is from a kosher fish or not, those same simanim apply to the egg of a bird. Of a fish, if it's a round egg, and roish echad chad, one side is more rounded, roish echad chad, and the other end is more pointy, like our eggs, that is a sign of an egg from a kosher bird. But beis roshah chadin, but if both are round, or beis roshah chadin, or both are more pointy, tmein, that's a sign that the egg came from a non-kosher bird. If the white is on the outside and the yolk is on the inside, Torah, as we do when you open up a chicken egg, the yolk is suspended in the chelbain. But on the other hand, that's a sign of a bird from a tamei animal. That's the egg of a sheretz. So the question is, why couldn't you buy from a guy without him telling you anything? You could check it out on your own. So they're chopped open. In fact, even if they're chopped open, but believed like you could still see what's on the outside. So but true for it, you bought scrambled eggs from the guy. If you bought scrambled eggs from the guy, so then you can believe him if he says what it's from. But true is bakara. But you couldn't possibly do that because then you can't compare it to another egg. You're not allowed to sell the egg of a treifa animal to a goy because you're afraid he's going to turn around and sell it to a goy, to a yid. Unless it's mixed in. Unless it's scrambled, then you can sell it to a goy. You know why? Because you're not allowed to buy scrambled eggs from a goy. So the question here is, it has to be speaking where the egg was complete, and if the egg was complete, it has a siman. So why can't you just buy it with the siman? Simanim is lav deraisa, and you cannot rely on the siman. Therefore, you have to have the raya that you'll be able to catch the guy if he's lying. Okay, well, I don't want to keep on going because we're almost finished on it all. So Mishnah will be mamshach tomorrow. I'm going to say tomorrow on Zoom. I'm not going to be here in person. And on Shabbos, Avram Weisbrod is saying. And then the Sunday, again, I'll say on Zoom. Okay. Everyone should have an easy fast